Come on, buddy. Well, I'm assuming it's recording. Didn't hear the 3, 2, 1. Yep. Yep, so it's recording. Okay, so anyway, to get started here, kind of cool. It's been a while since I've presented in a room with dual screen or mirrored projectors. So for those of you with neck problems, you're good to go either way today. So anyway, my name is Eric Griffith. I'm the Director of IT for Mechanicsburg Exempted Village School District. It's a tiny little school in Mechanicsburg, Ohio. We have about 863 students as of yesterday morning when I checked, right? So all those students are in one gigantic school building, okay? So all my problems, all my solutions are located in one building, and I'm able to be the tech person and provide Chromebooks and everything else in professional development for all of those grade levels, okay? So everything that I've talked about today is for all grade levels, okay? Including Google Drawing today. And Google Drawing is a little bit of my passion because prior to being a tech director, I was a graphic designer, okay? So going into Google and saying, all right, I'm going to drink this Kool-Aid and I'm going to do it, I was a little frustrated because I couldn't do everything that I wanted to do graphically like I could maybe in Microsoft, okay? So I found some tricks and tips, and Google Drawing is what we'll be using to do that today. So I hope to talk to you a little bit about Google Drawing and then run through a demo on how to do a lot of these tips and tricks with Google Drawing. I've got a QR code up there too if you want. So this little link down at the bottom, this go.gle/p7 that'll be up there the entire time if you need to grab it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be there. I'm also a Google certified administrator. So it just means I'm nerdy. Also, you're welcome. All right. So first of all, just to get some feedback from the audience here, how many of you've used Microsoft Paint before? Back in the day. It's okay. Don't need to be ashamed. We're all friends here. Okay. So Microsoft Paint was old school, right? It's drag and drop and draw and all that stuff. Google Drawing is sort of like Microsoft Paint, except it's on steroids, okay? It's hitting it up hardcore, all right? And so what I'm going to show you today is how much better it is and how to use it and lots of tips and tricks on how to get that done. So I'm going to show you a demo of Google Drawing, some tips and tricks on editing, how to create your own brand. So what I mean by that, if you're an administrator, a teacher, elementary teacher, and you want to have sort of a header or something at the top of your Google Doc that you would send out all the time, it's a great little tip on how to do that. So that's maybe your brand, your header, something like that, just as an example to show you how this works. Also might be able to have time to create some stationery. I'll show you some tips on how to do that, all right? So, but we have a couple of rules on using Google Drawing. It's not perfect, okay? There are a handful of things that would just make it perfect. Not quite there yet, but there are a couple of rules that you just have to understand going in. And one of them is there's two different versions of Google Drawing. There's Google Drawing, which is embedded into every Google Doc, Google presentation, right? I don't think it's a Google Sheets. Might be. It's not, right? And then there's the version that is the standalone Google Drawing that is built into Google Drive, okay? The built-in version for Docs is like a bastardized version, right? It's very limited. It's got a tiny little bar up there. You have to just work in the confines of it if you're going to insert a doc or insert a Google Drawing inside a Google Doc, okay? And I'll show you what that means, what I'm talking about when I say that. So understand that they're not the same thing. They're the same application, but they're not the same program interface, okay? You can't, in Google Docs, right, you can't hit File and insert a Google Drawing and insert a Google Drawing that you've done outside, okay? The only way to do that is to copy and paste. We'll talk about that too. And then I have some examples of some great graphic organizers that I've done in here. So this is, let's see what organizer this is. Oh, This one is depressing. Only because this is my naming convention for students, right? It used to be Bart Simpson. For 6 flippin' years, it was Bart Simpson. Then I had a 5th grader walk up to me and say, "Who is that?" Man, I mean, I scheduled my college classes around The Simpsons. That's the era in which I'm from, because it was on 24/7. Now, I had to switch it to SpongeBob, which, okay, a lot more kids, like SpongeBob now. But anyway, so this is just a graphic organizer that shows how to log in for students, right? So I did this all inside Google Drawing. Okay, each one of these is an object that I've inserted, and I'll show you how to do a lot of similar techniques in order to make something like this. So just an example of how that works and how students get usernames and passwords at Mechanicsburg. By default, to start off, it's all the same. Okay, so what we're going to do today is talk about inserting text box, word box, lines, shapes, different things like that. And what you have to think about for Google Drawing is it's an object-oriented program, meaning everything that you insert or create is an object on a layer, okay? And you have to remember which layer that's on, because as you move them up and down, they're going to be in front of each other. So that's what we're going to practice, and I'm going to demonstrate here. The other thing is Google also allows for transparency and animation. Okay, so you guys have seen those animated GIFs of dancing, peanut butter jelly time, different things like that. Yes, it also allows for that. They've opened up the floodgate, and that works too. So I'm going to show you how to do that. A cool project I do a few times a year is make a meme, just like Alice said this morning. I feel like she's just ripping me off, and she just doesn't know it yet. Maybe I should, follow her to her car and tell her that, but just kidding. So, not allowed to do that anymore. So, just kidding. There we go. Ice is broken. Now we're laughing. All right. So, the deal is we had a fun project where we make a meme. And this application is great for that because it's very easy to drag and drop images, too. The thing I'll show you, though, is, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it on this projector, but when I show the background up there, you're going to see a checkerboard background. And what that means is the objects that they're resting on top of there, they're sitting on top of something that's transparent. So if I insert that image on something else, the background is going to bleed through. Okay? So just how that works. So I'm going to stop right there, and we'll start with the demo first. So for some reason, if I go into Drive, sorry, the cables were very limited. I'd like to move out of the way, but I don't think I can. All right, so I'm going to go into Google Drive, and I don't know why, but it's like Google Drawing did something that really upset the rest of the docs, and they got punished, right? And so what they do is they hide them away behind the stairs of more, right? You got to go live back there. Nobody likes you anymore, right? Which I'm kind of surprised because Google Forms is like really popular, and you think it'd be up there, maybe above Sheets or Slides, I don't know, but whatever. It's right under here under Google Drawings. So you click on that, and by default it opens up, and yeah, you can see the checkerboard pattern, right? So that means it's transparent, okay? So anything that I insert on here is going to be transparent, right? So to get started, just like any other Google Drawing application, or just like any other Google Doc, I'm going to start it off and name it. So we'll call this My Drawing. Okay? And now I'm just going to start up at the top here. We've got some objects, and you can insert text, different things like this. I'm going to start with a shape, and I'm going to choose, let's say rounded rectangle. Okay? So in order to do that, you click on Shape, and that little drop-down triangle there, and we'll go with rounded rectangle. And so as soon as you do that, yes, sir.
So is there a special way to get that top screen up there? The My Drawing, naming and stuff, because I only see my transparent screen stuff.
Like that?
That's what I see. So
okay, so you got a little button right over here that says Show the Menus. You're into screen real estate, and that's okay, but you just click that little button, and then it pops down. Plenty of room in the back. So you get that little button, and those menus pop down. Did you get it?
No. Oh, maybe it did. I'm not very smart.
Alrighty, so once I've selected that tool, I get a little bit of a crosshair, right? So I'm just going to draw an object, just like you would maybe in Microsoft Publisher. How many of you have used Microsoft Publisher before? Okay, kind of a drawing, kind of a page layout program, right? So you draw that, and you can manipulate the shape. Again, remember this, everything in this program is object oriented, so as soon as I click on it, it defines the object by changing my menu up top. So again, what I'm talking about, right up here, if I click off of that object, you can see my top border right here is blank. But as soon as I click on that, my menu is dynamic. I get more options, okay? So what I can do is I can click on this, and I could change the fill color of it if I wanted. Do a little bit of Fenton orange. There you go, that's nice, right? I could resize it by clicking one of these boxes over here, drag it around. I can rotate it, okay? Different options, different features there, all right? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another shape, and we'll choose an arrow, okay? Choose this arrow, and I drew that over top of my other object. And the reason I did that is I want to show you that this is object-oriented. If I click this object or this object, I'm selecting them individually. And if I want to take this object and place him behind that one, there's two ways to do it. One, I can right-click. So how do you right-click on a Chromebook? Does anybody know? Two fingers and tap, right? So two fingers and tap, and up pops this menu, and it says send to the back or send backward, okay? So depending on how many layers of objects I have up there, that's what I'm going to have. So I'm going to say send backward. As soon as I send it backward, that object goes right back behind there, okay? So this is just the very basics of how the program works. As you start to insert more objects and move things around, you're going to see it. Did you end up finding it? No? What are you using? Okay, that's good. You're in a good spot. All right. All right, so I'm going to click on this, and what makes Google Drawing so cool is I can take this image, and then I can go and I can manipulate the color of it, okay? So if I click right back up here, where it has that drop-down color, I have the ability to go in under Custom, and I get this code right up here, okay? When I teach this to kids, they're like, oh, you mean the hashtag? And I'm like, no. It's okay, call it a hashtag, that's fine. But what that is a specific color code, all right? It's called hexadecimal code. Somebody way nerdier than me decided to sit down and put a name to every color possible that a computer can display, okay? And so FF9900FF just happens to be that color orange, okay? So that's how that works. The cool thing, sure. The cool thing about that is if I click on right up there, the drop-down tool, the fill bucket, and then I go down to custom, that's where I get that, okay? This is where I can go and mix it. So right over here on this side, I can click this one. This is the transparency, and I can bring this image down. And now you can see, ooh and ah, if I was making like a Venn diagram or something like that, I could totally make these transparent, okay? Yes? Are what? Yes, they are. In fact, if I wanted to steal this color from the Pear Deck logo, right? All I would have to use is a special tool, which I'll send the link to up here, or send you the link in this presentation. This one is called the eyedropper, and I use this all the time. What I do is I click on the eyedropper extension, and if you want to watch and see how this works, I'll make sure the link is in the presentation. You can go back and install it. You click on it, and then as you hover over, notice that? Yeah, it tells you exactly what color, and you can totally totally borrow the color that you need. So I know that's my exact Pear Deck color, and then if I wanted to make this arrow the exact Pear Deck cover, I'd come back over here, copy that code, go back down to custom, paste, and then boom, that's the exact Pear Deck color, okay? So that's how we rip off, that's how we borrow specific colors, let's say from our website or Coca-Cola, Disney, anybody else who's going to come after you. No, don't do that. Anybody else, you need to color match something. It's a great way to do it, okay? So if you were lost, you're like, I'm so lost, how did you just do that? Go back and watch this video, and it'll show you how to do it. Again, the presentation will have that link, and then you can take a look at it, okay? So that's great and all. You can make arrows point at things. That's great, but that's not really cool about Google Drawing, okay? I want to make something that I can build upon and I can turn into like a letterhead at the top of my screen, or maybe a cool infographic, something like that. So what I'm going to do is delete this guy, right? And we'll come up with a new one, maybe right here. And I'll choose Fenton Orange again. Right? And I want to insert an image in over the top of this, okay? So there's a couple of different ways to grab images, all right? In fact, over the weekend, Google updated how they insert things, because now they have like 12 different ways to insert images now in Google Docs. If you go back there, there's like 12 different options, right? Still in Google Drawing, there's only 3 because he did something wrong and he's banished to the More folder, right? So the deal is you can insert an image here, but the way I want to show you how to do it is really cool, and it really makes it fun for kids to go out and find things, right? So if I wanted to grab an image of, let's say, a minion, right? And I searched for the word minion, okay? And I just searched right there in Google, and I go over to images, right? It's going to display a lot of different minions, okay? Now, it just so happens that all these minions have white backgrounds, right? But if I click on one of these guys, I notice that he's got that white background right there, right? If I want to take this picture and I want to put it into Google Drawing, the coolest, quickest, easiest way to do that is to drag and drop. You guys done this before? I'm not oohing and awing any of you. I'll have to step it up. All right, challenge accepted. All right, so how to drag and drop, for those who have never seen that, is if I press and hold, okay, and now I've got that image. Okay, notice as I'm dragging him around, I've got that image. I'm going to go up top to where it says Google Drawing, and when I do that, notice it switches tabs, right? Now the trick is I'm still holding on, because if I let go, it's just going to drop that image. Okay, so I've got to hold on to that tab, drag him where I want him to be, and then let go, and then boom, there he is. Okay, so kind of neat. It's drag and drop, right? But the trick is you got to hold on to that image and remember where you're dragging. Okay, so I grabbed this image, and I kind of want Bob to sort of stick out, right? I really don't want that white box around there, right? Does anybody know how to get rid of the white box? Hey! You go sit by him in the back, okay? You help him out. You're smart. All right, so the deal is, how do you get rid of the white box? The trick is to find an image that doesn't have a white box, all right? I could teach you Photoshop, but it's been a few years, and I think my license expired on that. So the deal is, the cheaper way to do it is to search for an image, right? So if I've got Tools open, I'm going to go under Color, and I'm going to search for Transparent. Okay, now I've got some of the same images there, maybe not the same minion I wanted, but I'm going to search, we'll grab him, and now, whoops, we'll search him. What do you notice about this image versus the last one? Got the checkerboard, right? So now if I grab this image in the back, drag and drop, put him right there, look at that. I can start to have a really neat design in there. So one of the cool options that we did, that I do each year with my English teachers and English kids, is we build a timeline of events, okay? So the kids draw a bar, right? And then they Google search images to have a timeline of events to put in there, okay? And that's part of evidence that they'll turn in. So it's really neat, right? So they use these images, right? So we did that, and we have that transparent image right there, okay? Now, I can also insert fun images like the little bubble thing here. Oh, you hear that? Yours didn't end up transparent because all you did was you clicked right there and dragged and dropped, right? No? What you got to do is make sure that you clicked on that image right there and make sure that it's a transparent image. Once it's transparent like that, when you drag and drop, it'll go. Did it work? Right. So the other thing is we have extensions. Yep, PNG, which stands for Post Network Graphic. So the deal is the type of file that this is, there's about 3 different formats. One is called a GIF, which normal people call a GIF. Wrong people call it a GIF. They call it a GIF. You can stab them, okay? It's a GIF. It's an animated GIF, okay? So what that is it's a transparent image. GIFs have lesser quality to them. They only support 256 colors. A PNG file supports millions of colors, okay? So it's a better way to go ahead and grab an image that has a PNG. So you're right, you can search for .png, but I was going to show you these tools up there at the top built into Google that allow you to go ahead and grab those images, okay? Now, you won't always be able to find a picture of somebody with a transparent background, okay? You won't always be able to do that, but typically, if you're searching for a cartoon animal or something Disney-related, you're going to find it, and they've definitely cut it out and made it a transparent image for you already, okay? So, let's jump back to this guy, and we'll move this guy down. Okay? And if I wanted to insert a text box or some text on top of this, I could go up and hit Insert Text, or what I could do is just double-click on it, and then it allows me to type right in there. Okay? So any object that you insert out of that shapes box up there, you can double-click on and start typing, and it'll fill it in. Okay? So kind of a neat tool. If I've seen a lot of teachers use this as like a word bank, where they'll create boxes, they'll double-click on it, and then the kids will drag and drop words around to match those, okay? So kind of a cool solution right there, all right? So, but the graphics and the text that you put in there, you can click text up there, and you can draw a box and type your name, right? And I can choose all the same fonts that Google has, but it doesn't look as cool as it could be, right? So if I had a website that gave me cool text, what would I call it? Cooltext.com. That's a good idea. Let's go there. All right, so if we head on over to cooltext.com, this is a website that encouraged me not to be a graphic designer anymore, okay? And the reason being is, in order to apply all of these little creative colors and logos and designs to it, it takes a lot of talent and a lot of time and a lot of practice. But now there's a website to do it for you, okay? So if you think about going into the graphic designing business, I would choose something that is going to allow you to do visual art with painting or something like that, because when you go to the graphic design side, it's going to get more automated. It's going to get to the point where you go to a website and you're just clicking buttons and you're going to produce something that would take a graphic designer a long time to do. And that's why it was frustrating to me, and I said, you know what, I'm done being a graphic designer. This is an example of that site, right? So in this example, here I'll use burning, right? In this example, in order to go ahead and create that, I'd have to draw each one of those flames on there, right? Now it's just a font, right? So if I click on burning and I want to type in my name here, notice that it immediately changes it, right? This is an ugly one. I should not have chosen that one. Right? I can increase the size. And because this is a graphic, I can do the same thing I did to Bob the Minion a few seconds ago, which was grab, drag, and drop. And then it's going to appear right there. So you can see that I could start to build a nice header at the top of my screen. So I think I'm going to do that now. I'm going to move this up a little bit. And I'm going to click down here, and you can see down here at the very bottom of the board, I've got these little lines. This allows me to adjust the size of the drawing, okay? So now I've got a wider area to work with. And instead of burning, I think I'm going to go back and choose maybe keen, okay? So Mr. Griftastic, drag and drop you there. I've got conflicting oranges, so we'll change this orange to blue maybe. Or I could even color match his jeans. Pick one of those. Copy that there. Click on the object. Go down to custom. Paste the hexadecimal code in there. Hit OK. And then I've color matched his pants to that graphic there. So what is this for? You could call this the top of any homework page that you're creating. This could be the top of a newsletter. This could be the top of stationery. It could be a couple of different things, right? So being able to insert graphics and do different things like that in this program is pretty cool, and it's a tool that I use all the time. Now, sometimes you have to create something where it defines the space, where it says it must be 200 pixels wide by 200 pixels wide, okay? If that's the case, you can go up to File, Page Setup, click down to Custom, and then choose Pixels, and then you can define that space. So if you have to have a picture that you're posting online for something and it says, hey, it needs to be 450 pixels by 220 pixels, you can customize that size. You know, if it's a banner or something for YouTube or something like that, and they define the parameters, the pixels that you need, that's what you can use this program for, okay? So anyway, that's a little bit about Google Drawing. What I'd like to do now is jump into a sample doc that I did. This was a couple of years ago. So Mechanicsburg Elementary School is actually called Doran Wilson Elementary, and so I was doing a tech presentation, okay? So I took their logo right up here, and I built this inside Google Drawing, and I just copied and pasted that information into there. So I made a nice header at the top of my screen and just pasted it into a Google document, okay? So how did I get this document over here into a Google Doc? You used to have to copy and paste it in a special way, but I believe they fixed it now. All I have to do is click and highlight and select everything, copy, we'll see if this works now, and then hit paste. And it doesn't. Right. So what they still have is this other feature. It's called, oh, did they take it away? I think you gotta go back here. Edit, copy, edit. Oh, no, I'm sorry. So here's what you do. You've copied the document, or you've copied all your text here. If you go down to Insert and then Drawing, and then hit Paste right there, it'll insert it right into there. So you have to insert a drawing first, and then paste that. You can't copy from a drawing and then paste onto a doc, okay? So that's the only kind of odd thing that you do that. And notice, whoops, this is that bastardized version of Google Drawing that I was talking about, where it's all shrunk at the top. Is this the version you were looking at by any chance? Were you inside of Google Drawing when you did that? No? Got it. Okay. So you can see this version of Google Drawing is sort of like built in to Google Drawing, or into Google Docs, okay? So at this point, if I hit done, then it's going to insert that right there, and that's how I can break it. Now, or that's how I can insert it, okay? So unfortunately, if I design something outside in Google Drawing and I want to copy and paste it inside to Google Docs, I have to copy from Google Drawing to Google Drawing, okay? So that's the only kind of weird issue that happens, or that you have to do. But you can always come back, double click on it, and edit, okay? So, understand, yay, nay, see a use for this in the classroom? Yeah.
I got to I copied it, and then you said you had to get insert, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then drawing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah.
Absolutely. Let's go back, and this time I'm going to go down to Insert, Drawing. So this time I'm in Google Docs, right? I click Insert and Drawing, and this is that bastardized version of Google Drawing that's just dumbed down. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles up at the top, right? So then I jump over to my original Google Drawing that I did. I'm going to click and select everything, and then right-click and copy. And then I'm going to jump back over to my drawing, right-click, and paste. Yes, I know. Right? And so from here, I do have to shrink it down a little bit in order for it to fit in that window. You guys getting errors? What's the error say? But that's how I do it. Is it not working, or it is working? Not working. See, Google's forcing you to hit Control V. They want to nerdicize you. I don't know. Teach you keyboard shortcuts, right? Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Yep, they're right next to each other, so they thought that if your fingers are right there, it'd be quick. Control C, Control V. Yes. When I was in this version of drawing right here. Like that, and it was too big and it was kind of hanging off the edge. How did I make it smaller? Yes. So what I did is I used a keyboard shortcut to shrink it down. So if I grab the corner and I just draw it like this, you kind of see that it stretches it out a little bit, right? And that's disgusting. That makes me sick, all right? So don't do that. So what you need to do is do something called maintain constant proportions. And what that means is as you shrink and zoom, it's going to maintain the same aspect ratio. The same size is always going to be the same, so it won't shrink or stretch it, okay? So in order to do that, you're going to press and hold Shift, right? And then when you do that, holding Shift, it shrinks it down and it doesn't stretch it out. Make sense? Then you just hit Save and Close, and then it's good to go, okay? All right, so jumping back to Google Drawing, one of the other things that I like to do here, let me jump back over here to presentations. What was this one? Yeah. Those are just samples of stuff I did. Let's jump back to here. Reorder, rotate, share, word art, line shapes. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you an example of text that isn't going to copy correctly, okay? So, or I'm sorry, of a graphic that isn't going to copy correctly. So, if I go to softicons.com, right? And I will go to softicons.com and search for minion. Okay? Went to hardicons.com one time. That's not school appropriate. Don't go there, okay? And we'll look at this angry minion, right? Now, this file, even though this said it's a PNG, right, and you said that, hey, the PNG file is the one you want to grab, if I click to grab it, that's great. I can move him around, but it's kind of weird. Wherever I move him, he just kind of stays, right? This site is a site that is an example of something that graphic designers would use to sort of place objects in behind things to see how they would look on different items, right, different colors, right? So if I try and drag and drop this guy up here, he's not going to work, okay? So sometimes you actually have to click on the image, and when you click on the image, it's going to download, okay? So if I click on this guy, we're waiting on him. Should download in a second. Eventually. Man, I'm hardwired too. Why is it slow? Well, what's going to happen is it's going to download, and then you know how you get that little download bar right there? From that download bar, you can always, we'll try this one. Yep, go to Angry Pumpkins. Try that one. There's a big angry pumpkin. It should download right there. Oh, it's popping up right there. Yep, so it says show in folder. I can say copy to the clipboard, and then I can come back over here and hit paste. Oops. Nope. It's a giant sack of fail. So it looks like on the newest version of Chrome, it just pops up over here on the side. Maybe it's because I've got that asleep. Let's try this. Nope. Okay, yeah. So it should pop up. What I can do is click on it. Geez, you used to be able to click and drag and drop. All right, so if that doesn't work, you have to go to Insert an Image. And then as you've downloaded an image, you can go to your Google Drive. It'll be one of the most recent images that you've downloaded. And then you can click on it and insert it right like that. So if you ever find an image that you can't borrow off of a website like that, when you click on it and download it, it'll be in your downloads folder or your recent folder. From there, you have to go in and hit insert and grab it. Yes?
Before Angry Pumpkin showed up on
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't you have taken your minion, Mr. Fantastic link, file, published to web that would have given you a URL, then you could insert the URL photo into your chat?
So what you're saying is if I did this, if I said hit file, publish as a what?
Publish to the web.
Okay, publish to the web.
Do a link, publish.
Okay.
You grab that link, go back to your, insert photo, or if you insert image. Here's the image. And then by URL, just take the URL.
Is that going to work? Just fine. Now, does it change? Okay, so when you do this, though, you can't double-click and edit.
Right.
I guess that's what I was going for, is if you needed to double-click and go back in and edit,
Right.
that's what that does. Okay? So that's a direct way to do it. Good idea. Let's jump back into Google Drawing, and I want to show you, before we finish up here, some advanced editing tips, right? So if I've found an image, okay, and let me jump out of this guy here, and we'll search for, I don't know, Disney. Probably the worst image I could rip off, right? Let's see. And if there was this little Disney icon, right there, and I said, oh, I wanted to grab this icon, this image, and I want to drag and drop it into there, and I want that to say Disney right there. And then for some reason, sometimes when I copy these images over, you get this weird little C right down there. You see what that is? This weird little thing. I don't know what it means, nor do I want to know. But if you needed to get rid of that for any reason, you just double-click on the image, right? And then notice how it turned black around the edge. If I click and drag, I can crop that up and crop that out. And then the C goes away, just like that. Magic. Completely legal, 100% free, right? Just kidding. Not at all. All right, so, but if you, a better example, not so that Disney doesn't come after me, but let's say I had two minions, right? And I needed to crop out one of these guys, one of these minions, right? Just needed the two, but the picture had three. I can do this where I double click and then drag over and then crop out that minion, okay? So easy as that to go over and crop, okay? So very easy, very quick to go in and do that. The other cool thing you can do with the new release of this is I have some image options. If I click on image options, I have the ability to make it transparent. So they could be ghost minions, right? If I wanted them to. I could also recolor them and do that weird art thing where there's like one color of each one of them, right? There you go. Right? So I could do different objects, different things like that. We did a cool project where the kids had to take pictures and do that to different photos, okay? So lots of cool options here in Google Drawing that allow you to create, edit, and do different things like that, okay? So we discussed a couple of different ways to get that out of Google Drawing, right? The new one that we just learned was inserting that image to do that. The pro of that side is, hey, the image just inserts right there, and you don't have to go and resize it. The downside is, if I were to go in right here under Insert and Google Drawing, and I wanted to grab this guy again here, copy, and then paste. Dump that over there, hit save and close. I couldn't go back in. Come on, buddy. I couldn't go back in, double click on it, and edit it. So if I double click on this, this brings this back up. So if I ever need to go back and edit it, so if I needed to say, oh, you know what, it's now Mr. Grifftastic minus the C, right? And I needed to go and change that on the fly, I could do that within the program. I still have the ability to edit, okay? So very neat features built within Google Drawing. I hope you learned just a little bit more about Google Drawing today. And what I'd like you to do is, if you get a really cool Google project that you use Google Drawing in, tag me in it on Twitter so I can use that and showcase that to everyone else as well, because a lot of cool use cases for Google Drawing, and I hope you learned a lot. So, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions before we go? Nope.
I had no clue this existed.
Google Drawing? That's